Hey guys, what's up? It is the one and only RJ21 here, and today I'm going to be recapping the events of week 5 of Big Brother 25 and giving my updated power rankings. Week 5 started off with Jared winning HOH, and Jared obviously is going to go for the house target, so he nominates Cameron alongside Red. Now, the three of them alongside America, Felicia, and Matt compete in the power of veto, in which Cameron wins the power of veto, completely ruining Jared's HOH plans. America is initially considered as the replacement nominee, as America was seen as untrustworthy and throwing comps, even though she wasn't, but that's how Jared perceived America, which led to Jared almost nominated America. However, Cirie ended up coming up with a plan to get Jag nominated, the person who was just evicted and just saved with the BB power of invincibility, because Cirie didn't trust Jag. So Cirie ends up convincing Jared to nominate Jag, and this is further pushed forward by Blue, who basically just voluntold Jag to go up on the block, which Jag unfortunately obliges with. The plan initially was to evict Jag in a blindsided 6-4 vote. However, people started fearing that Red and Cameron would rekindle their bond and their bromance, and that would make Cameron more powerful moving forward in the game, and they didn't want Cameron to have any sort of power. So they decided to flip the vote back onto Red and ended up with Red being evicted by a vote of 8-2, the first non-unanimous vote of the entire season. The house dynamics are pretty set and standard as they have been in past weeks. It's still very Cirie-centric. It's still very much the core of Cirie, Izzy, and Felicia kind of controlling everything and everything revolving around them. But people have started catching on to their gameplay, with the likes of Corey and America and possibly even a Cameron catching on to how those three are controlling the game, leading them to possibly getting targeted in the near future sooner rather than later. But as it stands right now, those three still hold a majority of the power within the house, with Cirie being the core figure around the entire house. So the house is still being dominated by Cirie, but people have started catching on to their game, making their position in the game a little more fragile and a little bit more precarious. Just a quick disclaimer before we get into the power rankings. This video is being filmed after the HOH competition and the nomination ceremony, so I know who the new HOH is and who they nominated, so that will be affecting my power rankings. And another additional thing, in my previous videos I've been updating the evicted house guests, like the house guests who have been out of the house for a while now, but now that we're towards the halfway point of the game, it seems a little unnecessary to me to keep updating them, as their placements are never going to change, so there's no point in really updating their rankings. So people like Luke, Kirsten, Riley, and now Heisem, I won't be, and future house guests who have been out of the house for a while now, I won't be updating them. I'll only be talking about the most recently evicted house guest and all of the players still left in the game. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into the power ranking. At number 13, the most recently evicted house guest, we have Red. And last week when I gave the power ranking, I made a prediction that said if Cameron won the veto, Red would probably be the one going home, and that is exactly what happened. Cameron was the initial target, Cameron won veto, Red was his closest friend, Red went home. Plain and simple. There was a big effort for Red to stay, but because Red was trying to possibly rekindle that friendship with Cameron and possibly that game relationship, they didn't want to keep that in the house, so they obviously cut him, which is unfortunate. But preseason I did predict Red was going to go home pre-jury. I just predicted him to be the first boot. I was wrong. Fortunately for him, I was wrong, but he still went home pre-jury. He was a bit lackluster. Like, he definitely wasn't as energetic or as entertaining as his preseason interviews and information made him out to be. So that was a little bit disappointing, but he seems like a decent enough guy. He seems to really enjoy his time in the house. He's kind of unremarkable, I guess, even though he did win a competition, which is pretty like infamous. Not infamous, but which he did win a competition though, so there is some note to his name. But other than that, he didn't really have that much of an impact on the game. He was a little bit of like a nothing character, maybe a little bit of cannon fodder. And he just didn't have that much of an impact on the season. But I hope that no, I don't hope he comes back for a future season. He's not that interesting in all honesty, and he wasn't really that good at the game. So yeah, that's all I have to say with Red, and he's the most recently evicted house guest here at number 13. Now we're moving to the players actually still in the game. At number 12, the person who I think is in the worst position is Bowie Jane. And I think she's guilty by association with Cameron. It's clear that Bowie Jane is on the bottom of the power structure. The only reason that she's lower than Cameron is because of reasons I'll explain with Cameron, but Bowie just doesn't have any allies actively supporting her. She has Cameron, but that's only due to circumstance because they were both left out of the red vote. So now the two of them are kind of forced to work together, even though they weren't that close of allies in actuality. So Bowie Jane really doesn't have anybody actively fighting for her in the game, which is unfortunate. Not really, because she was really passive in those first weeks. Like, she was super passive. Like, the first 4 weeks, she did little to nothing. And it was not disappointing. Well, no, it was disappointing. It was disappointing to see someone be so passive within those first 4 weeks. But that passivity eventually turned into activity because she was so passive and so complacent in her gameplay. She ended up getting blindsided. But now that she knows she got blindsided, she's now actively playing this game a little bit harder, but she's still not making any meaningful relationships or meaningful game like alliances, and she's not really progressing herself forward in the game, and that's going to be a big issue for her. So I think she's going to be in a similar position to Red, where Cameron and Bowie Jane would probably get put on the block together, and Cameron, as he's shown in the past, is likely to win a competition. So if Cameron wins the veto, which is highly likely, Bowie Jane's probably going to be the one going home because nobody actively wants to work with and or keep her in the game, and that's just horrible for her longevity, which is why I have her here at number 12. Now at number 11, the current HOH for this week, we have Cameron. And Cameron finally is taking the shot. He has the opportunity to make a big move, and he did it. He nominated Felicia and Izzy, two people that are the core of the entire house. So he's making a really big power play right now. The only issue is I don't know if he's going to be able to increase his longevity moving forward in the game. He is making a big move. He's shaking up the house, but maybe he's not shaking it up as much as he needs to. I think he needs to take out Suri in order to reposition himself within the house, because she is the core player of the house. So if he's able to get her out, he could possibly reposition himself with better allies other than just Bowie Jane. When Cameron first won HOH, it was head scratching as to why he wasn't targeting Felicia, Izzy, and Suri. But now that we look at it in retrospect, it makes sense. Because Cameron actually trusted the Legend 25 Alliance. And he had no reason in the past to distrust them. Even though Felicia did put Cameron on the block, Felicia explicitly told Cameron that there was a backdoor plan in motion. And they felt confident in Cameron winning a comp. So Cameron had solid reasoning as to why he was put on the block in past weeks. But now that he's actually been blindsided and been turned on by these people, he now has all the reasoning in the world to turn on them, which is why he's making this move now. I think this move is going to be great for his game. I just think that he needs to build better bonds and build alliances and build just more trust with people, because this is the perfect opportunity for him to mend his relationships with somebody like a Jag or Blue, and then possibly pull in people like Corey or America, and possibly bring them in for the alliance that he actually wanted to go after these power players. The only issue is I don't know if he's going to be able to do so, and that hesitancy makes me a little weary of wanting to put him higher, because he's still in a bad position. He's still actively the house target. People are still actively wanting to get him out of the game. It's just a matter of he's taking somebody out who was previously in a power position, but now I don't know if he's going to be able to extend that for much further in this game, which is why I have him here at number 11. Now at number 10, I have Jag. And in all honesty, when I first drafted this list, I thought Jag was going to be at the very bottom. I really thought he was. But then I started thinking about it more, and plus with recent events that happened in the house, I decided to move Jag up a couple spots because I guess he is in a somewhat better position. He is still actively being targeted. Cameron talked about this week as even though he is wanting to get out one of the power players in like Suri, Izzy, or Felicia, even though he did talk about wanting to get them out, he still said that Cameron still said that Jag needed to be taken out in future rounds and that him staying in this game is scary. So obviously Jag is still actively being targeted by a large majority of the house, which is definitely concerning. It sucks how passive Jag is. He's really social. He gets along with everybody. He's really friendly with everybody. He's just unable to foster those like social relationships into game relationships, and he's just unable to make the transfer between the two, and that's why this game has been passing by him so fast. He's actively been playing bad. His reads on the house are so horrible. He was blindsided 10-0, and he still wants to work with the people who blindsided him. And obviously he recognizes that like he's in a bad position. The only issue is that he's not working to fix that position. He's like, damn, it sucks that I'm here. I guess I gotta live with it. Like, no, you don't have to live with it. You can work and build better bonds with people to better your position, like to flip this game. But he's just actively choosing not to, instead staying loyal to Blue. And recently, Jag and Matt formed a Final Two alliance called the Minutemen, and I think this was the biggest factor in him moving up in the list because he now actually has like a solidified Final Two. Like Blue is like the fakest, worst alliance mate you could ever have because Blue essentially almost got him evicted. But with Matt, at least Matt actively wants to keep Jag in the game. Like Matt and Jag, they have a Final Two. So obviously they want to work together, which shows that Jag actively does have allies who do want to keep him in the house. It's just a matter of can he actually stay in the house with how actively targeted he is. And that makes me really scared for his future in the game, and it doesn't give me a lot of confidence, which is why I have him here at number 10. Now at number 9, we have Jag's supposed closest ally. We have Blue. And straight up, Blue sucks at Big Brother. Like, Blue's just so bad at Big Brother. Like, you have this close ally in Jag, and you're actively throwing him under the bus, and you're actively campaigning for him to essentially go home. Like, why? Just why? Like, it's mind-boggling. It's like, I don't know. It's just, I have no idea what Blue is doing. She has this well of information that could come into play that could actively better her position in the game. She's just choosing not to do anything with it. Like, she knows that Jared has a secret relationship inside the house. She knows that Jared's mom is in the house. So what does she do? She goes to like two of the oldest women in the house, in Felicia and Suri, the two people she suspects being Jared's mom, and says, you know, if somebody's gonna take Jared out, it's gonna be me. Why would you tell that to the two people you're suspecting of being his mom? Like, it doesn't make sense. And then she volunteered Jag to go on the block. Like, why would you volunteer somebody who was just evicted unanimously to go back on the block? It's like she's almost actively trying to send him home. And if Jag does end up going home, Blue has no one. Blue only has Jared. And there is no way Jared is going to take Blue to the end over like Izzy and Suri, his own mom. So Blue is just actively ruining her position in the game. She's not branching out to other people. She's just not doing anything good. With all of these negatives, I theoretically should put Blue at the bottom. The only reason she's not at the bottom is because she's not actively being targeted like the previous people I've talked about. People have talked about wanting to get Bowie Jane and Cameron and Jag out, but Blue hasn't actively been said. No one's actively been saying we need to get Blue out, but rather like, oh, at some point Blue needs to go. But they're not actively saying we need to get Blue out now, which is why I have her a little higher than everybody else, but she's still actively playing so horribly, which is why I have her here at number 9. At number 8, we have America. And America's position is still tumultuous. She's still very much so being actively targeted by a lot of people in the house. I mean, Cameron, when he was lying about his plans, he said he was going to put Blue and Jag up with the intention of backdooring America. Like, you don't just say that. Like, if that's your fake plan, like, that's supposed to appease the house, that means a majority of the house wants that to happen. Meaning that America is being seen as a pretty huge target as of right now, and that's not great for her. She was almost backdoored on Jared's HOH, but was saved through a lot of her own efforts, which I do have to give her props for, but she's still not in a very good position. She does have solid allies in somebody like a Corey. Corey is somebody who's willing to ride or die for America, and that's great for her game. And she does want to target the power players. She does want to target the likes of like a Suri and Izzy and a Felicia. The only issue is that she's being too open about wanting to target them, and that is what's making a lot of people scared. And that's what's making a lot of people worried about America. And I think if she possibly toned down that intensity of wanting to target the power players, she might be able to be put into a better position. But I think America, as it stands right now, the target on her back is just too big to wash away. So I think she's going to be actively targeted for quite a while. I think the only way she'd be able to mend this is if she possibly won an HOH and repositioned herself through that. But as it stands right now, America is not in a very good position. It's decent, but it's not great, which is why I have her here at number 8. Now at number 7, I'm really sad to have this person at number 7 because she's such a fun energy in the house, but her game has just been slowly crumbling, and I think it's at the point of no return for her. So at number 7, I have Felicia. And Felicia's on the block this week, and Felicia's probably going home unless she wins veto. Can she win veto? There's always a possibility, but there's a very high likelihood that she is going to go home. Even though Izzy is the target, Izzy has the numbers to stay. Izzy has the numbers of somebody like Suri, Jared, Corey, maybe even America, maybe even like Matt, Jag, Blue. Like, that's 7, and there's only 9 votes this week. So it's very likely that Felicia's probably going home this week unless she wins veto. So that really sucks. But even though she is most likely to go home this week, I still have her in a very decent spot because outside of all of that, she was in a great position. She was one of the power players very early on in the game with Suri and Izzy. The only problem is that she started distancing herself from them, instead aligning herself with people, trying to at least align herself with people like Jared and Nicole and trying to flip the house on them. And she was just really sloppy in that work, and she ended up getting caught dead in her tracks, which has caused Suri to lay out the groundwork to leave a lot of the blame on Felicia, which seems to be working to a certain extent. And that makes me really scared for Felicia. Her game has just been slowly crumbling ever since she just made one comment to Jared about how she should have made a final 2 with Jared instead of Suri. And it's crazy how that one single comment completely dismantled her entire game and is possibly sending her. A majority of the Big Brother community was predicting her to go far, like mid to late jury. And now she might be a pre-juror because of one single comment. And that's just an example of how crazy the game of Big Brother can get. And it's just really unfortunate that it had to happen to Felicia, somebody who I really enjoyed in the house. It's unfortunate and it sucks, but I'm not too high. I'm not too sure how well Felicia's going to do. If she can survive this week, I think she'll be in a great position. I think she still has solid allies backing her up. I still do think that Suri and Izzy want to work with her to a certain extent. So if Felicia does survive this week, that is going to be great for her. But it's just I don't see her surviving this week. And that's really sad. And that's why I have to leave Felicia here at number 7. Now at number 6, this is somebody who was really high last week, but I think because of all of the chaos and craziness that has happened this week, has unfortunately dropped a lot. And at number 6, I have Matt. And Matt's interesting because he does have a really solid bond with Cirie, and he was fully intending to stay loyal to that alliance. The only problem is that Cirie kind of threw that relationship away and kind of just said that she doesn't really need it anymore. And Matt has in turn been placed a lot lower on Cirie's totem pole of importance. And that's not great for his game. He's not seen as reliable now, or as trustworthy as an ally moving forward now in comparison to a lot of other players. So that does make me really worried about his position in the game. He's still not actively being targeted by anybody, but I think because he lost that, he didn't lose it, but because that bond with Cirie was weakened, I think that's actively ruining his position a whole lot more than when he was working with Cirie. He does have a lot of allies that, maybe not a lot of allies, but he still does have a lot of people who feel good about him and want to keep him in the game. People like Cirie, Izzy, Jared, Jag, and Blue. He has a squad of people that are going to ride for him. The only issue is that he was in a better position last week than he is this week. And maybe that's a bit due to passivity. I think that's also tied because of how loyal he wanted to stay to Jag and how they did want to blindside Jag. Or like how the power players in like Cirie and Izzy wanted to blindside Jag. So that obviously soured that relationship a little bit, which has caused him to drop a little lower. But overall, I still think he's in a really good position. I think it's just a matter of possibly improving his bonds with those power players, and hopefully that will help him progress further in the game. But he's in a really good position right now. I don't see him going home anytime soon, but it's definitely not the best he's seen in his game so far, which is why I have him here at number 6. At number 5, I have Nicole. And Nicole is in the same position she's always been. She's playing a very low-key, under-the-radar game. She's actively playing under the radar, and I think that's playing dividends for her game. I think if Nicole was put on any other season, something like maybe even a Big Brother 24 or maybe even a more passive season, I think Nicole's strategy would work out perfectly. I think her laying low key, and staying under the radar is working out so well for her because nobody is actively saying we need to get Nicole out. No one is saying that. The only issue is that I feel like there is a glimmer of a chance that Nicole might go home this week. As crazy as it sounds, if Felicia wins veto, I feel like I might have a hunch that Cameron might put Nicole up, and then Nicole would go home next to Izzy. And if that's how her game ends, I'm going to be so disappointed and just overall upset because that is the worst way to go out. Like, she didn't even do anything, and she went home. But I just don't see that happening. There is a glimmer of a chance that it does happen if Cirie is able to work her magic to keep herself off the block. But is it a definite thing? I don't think so. Nicole is extending a lot of olive branches. She's actively working with people. She's actively working on her relationships with people like Corey and possibly even a Matt, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Nicole is actively extending olive branches to more people. I think she was even talking about possibly working with Jag in the future. And if she can continue extending these olive branches, she's going to be in a great position moving forward. My only concern with Nicole is that she's not being included in anybody's endgame plans. Like, I think the only person actively including Nicole in their endgame plans is Nicole, because she's such a non-entity in the house that people are almost not considering her for anything. While her playing under the radar is good for her game longevity-wise, in terms of getting to the end of the game and winning, I don't know if that's going to be as useful for her, which does scare me a lot. And I think if Nicole becomes just a little bit more active in strategy, I think that would pay off dividends for her. And until she does that, I have to leave her here at number 5. At number 4, I have Izzy. And Izzy's the target. Like, straight up, Izzy is Cameron's target. If Izzy wins veto, probably Cirie goes up and then Felicia goes home, but Izzy is the target. She's not going home. She has the votes to stay, but she is the target, and that's not good for her game. If she's being targeted this early on, who knows what's going to happen to her later on in the game. Izzy's in a power position. She is within that core with Suri and Felicia. She is in that core. The only issue is that people are recognizing she is in that core, and she is one of the most active players within the house. Her spot is essentially getting blown up, and she's being targeted. People, however, I will say she does have a lot of people wanting to work with her. She obviously has Suri and Jared because of the ties with like the whole Survivor thing, but she also is getting along really well with the likes of Corey and America. That relationship is fostering very well. Those bonds could possibly bring her much further in the game than if she didn't have them. I guess for me, I think Izzy's very high variance. I think she could go from being in this power position to being on the complete bottom of the house. She's just such a high variance player, and she's so active in her gameplay. It's making her seem messy and sloppy and very chaotic. And I think she's one of the contributing factors to the paranoia within the house. And that is really concerning. I think Izzy's in a good position. I think she's she's in a great position. She has a lot of people protecting her. I think the biggest issue is that she's not actively working to fix the bonds she doesn't have that close with. Like people like Cameron and Bowie Jane are people that she's completely isolated in the house, and now it's come back to bite her in that she's now nominated because of that. So I think Izzy definitely needs to clean up that act in helping shift that target off of her back and building much stronger relationships with people. But other than that, Izzy's in a really good position, but it could get blown up very easily. It's very fragile, and she needs to be very careful, which is why I have her here at number 4. Now at number 3, I have Corey. And Corey isn't a high variance player. His position in the game is, he's very, how should I say this? His position in the game comes and blows with the wind. Like, one day he'll be on the very top, the next day he'll be at the very bottom with America. Everyone is recognizing that Corey is in this final 2 duo showman's alliance with America, and that's actively ruining his position. What I think he did great this week is he started actively, somewhat strategically distancing himself. Like relationship wise, him and America are very close, but strategically wise, he's made it very apparent that him and America are 2 separate entities and how they're both operating on different strategies. This is working great for him because he's been able to foster strong relationships with the likes of Suri and Izzy and Jared, and those things are working out great for him. And if he can continue that great work, he's going to be trusted a lot more, and he's going to progress a lot further in the game. Obviously, the thing that I'm worried about with Corey is that he needs to win comms. He needs to win like an HOH or veto to take out a power player and make a big move. The only issue is that I don't know if he's going to be able to ever get that chance. My biggest fear is that he's going to get sniped out because people are recognizing how big of a threat he is. I think he could be targeted. I think he really could be targeted pretty soon, and that makes me scared for him. But I honestly don't see Corey going home anytime soon. Sure, he is being seen as a target, but I don't think he would actively be sent home over people like in America. So I think that's honestly great for his game, and if he can continue that good work and that solid positioning, he'll go very far in this game, which makes me really happy because I want to see him go far. I just worry that he might get sniped out sooner rather than later, which is why I have him here at number 3. At number 2, I have Jared. And I don't want to have Jared this high. I really don't, because I think some of his gameplay this week has been very shady, very sketchy. So I'm not going to talk about the whole R-word situation because I feel like other people are covering that in more depth than I want to do in this video. I might possibly make a video about that whole situation in the future if I feel prompted to do so, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video whatsoever. Also, he supposedly was using production as a strategy, which is completely against the rules, and I don't know how in the world he's getting away with it. Wait a second. I do know how he's getting away with it. It's because he's Suri's son. He's getting handed this game on a silver platter because he is supposed to help Suri get to the end of this game. And that's honestly, this sucks and it's stupid. Like, what in the world is going on? This is dumb. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I think, okay, besides Jared, like, as a person or whatever, like, personal stuff about him, in terms of his game, he needed this HOH. His position was slipping. Like, it was tumultuous. He was getting very emotional. He's making very emotional decisions. He was being very irrational in his decision making. And some of that did carry on through his HOH, obviously. But he did need this HOH to re-solidify bonds with certain people. People like a Matt and a Jag. He definitely needed to re-solidify with them. He definitely needed to re-solidify his bonds with them so that he could have a working relationship with them moving forward. He also helped keep Cameron complacent, at least for the time being, where I don't think Cameron is going to nominate Jared if one of Izzy or Felicia come off the block, which is great for his game. He's also been able to re-solidify trust in a lot of people, like a Corey, somebody who was actively starting to be like, I don't know if Jared is best for my game, but now people are starting to trust him more, and he was able to foster goodwill through his HOH, which is good. I think his only issue is that he's made enemies. Like, he made a huge enemy out of America this week, and that is horrible for his game. Like, I don't know why he got into a big argument with America. Like, I have no idea why. Maybe that's his own personal beliefs on her gameplay, and in all honesty, it's a little bit stupid, but still, you know, like, it's there, and America would actively target Jared. The only issue is that Jared has the protection to keep himself safe if he is targeted, which is why he's in such a good position. I think if he can hold on to these relationships and hold on to this position, I think if he can hold on to these alliances that he has, he can go very far in the game. But as far as I see it, Jared could easily blow this up in like a week or two, and then he's in the same spot he was a couple weeks ago, where his position in the spot is being blown up more and more, and he's actively playing worse. And that's not good for his game, but as it stands right now, he's in a really good spot. I just hope he doesn't blow it, which is why I have him here at number 2. At number 1, I have Suri. At this point, I should just call it Suri's power ranking, because Suri's always going to be on the top, and the people below her are just how important are they to Suri's game. That's essentially what this list has boiled down to at this point. What is there new to say about Suri's game? She's held the position she's always had. She's held the numbers. Her social maneuvering is honestly top tier, and this is why she's regarded as the best Survivor player to never win. The way she's able to maneuver all of these relationships is honestly very impressive. But I think the biggest thing we saw out of Suri's game this week is her poor relationship management. We saw in Red, when he got evicted, he's started saying some not very positive things about Suri, calling Suri very deceptive and deceitful, and that could hurt her jury chances a lot once the jury phase of the game hits. People are going to start comparing notes in the jury house and realize that Suri was playing all of them, and a bitter jury might just cost Suri the game. I never thought that Suri would have poor jury management, but I think because it's like people trust her so much that they get hurt when they find out that Suri was actually never loyal to them, and that's actively going to ruin her chances of winning the game. And that's concerning, really concerning. But in terms of like the game as it stands right now, Suri is in an amazing position. She has all of these people wrapped around her finger. She did let go of a couple threads, but she can obviously rewind them and tighten them up as the weeks progress, and she'll still be in a great position. She is possibly the backdoor target if Izzy wins veto or Felicia wins veto. Cameron could very easily put Suri up on the block, but Suri obviously doesn't have the numbers to go as I see it right now. So I think Suri is still going to be in an amazing position. And she's going to stay in that amazing position unless some big blow up happens, or maybe, I don't know, somebody like an America wins HOH and actually is able to get her out. But as I see it right now, she's not going anywhere anytime soon, and she's still controlling this house, and that is why I have her here at number 1. overall, this season was turned into a bit of a steamroll, but with Cameron shaking up the game with his HOH, this season just got a whole lot more interesting. And I think this season so far is the best modern season in the history of Big Brother. I think out of these new era seasons we've gotten with like 23 and 24 and now 25, I think 25 is the best one hands down. The gameplay is dynamic and fluid and interesting, and the personalities to it, as far as I see it, the personalities are really fun and really interesting, and a majority of the people in the house are actively there to play the game. Some of them aren't playing that good, but they're at least playing the game, which is very nice to see. I hope that this momentum carries on. I hope that there's no twist that absolutely just allows Suri to steamroll and dominate this endgame. I hope nothing like that happens, but it's Big Brother. It might just happen just because. I hope the season just keeps carrying this momentum forward, and I hope that this season becomes one of the best, because I'm really enjoying this season so far, if you can't already tell. I'm really loving this season. I don't know if I've been this happy or excited about a Big Brother season in a while, but I'm really excited to see where the season goes forward. But that's all I have to say. If you like this video, be sure to like, leave a comment if you disagree or agree with any of my opinions, subscribe, share with your friends if you have any of those, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.